Hey, what's up, everybody? Now, one question that I get asked almost daily is who makes a better video card, AMD or Nvidia? And to be honest with you, it's a pretty loaded question, and I don't think there's actually any just flat answer to say that one is better than the other, and there are reasons for this. Usually, AMD always comes to the table and they bring the budget. That's been the big thing with AMD from the get-go. Like a lot of people say, oh yes, they're beating Intel, they're beating Nvidia. Honestly, those things are cool goals for AMD, but AMD has always been traditionally, including when they were ATI before they bought the company, has always been about pricing, getting the absolute best prices to the market to get the video cards to you people. Now, as far as gaming goes, your gaming experience, I don't think from a visual aspect. When I say this, what I mean is sitting in front of the computer, you've installed your video card, you're up and you're playing your games. I don't really think that you're going to see that much of any difference whatsoever in just how the game looks. Now, it's true that Nvidia card has hardware physics and there's software physics for AMD, but still, at the end of the day, when you're playing your games and you're looking at the screen, I don't think that pretty much any person can just walk up and go, hey, oh yeah, man, that's an AMD card. Oh yeah, that's an Nvidia card. So as far as the visual experience goes, and I'm talking about strictly about being a gamer only. You use your computer for surfing the net, you do gaming. You're not streaming, you're not editing, you're not doing anything else, you're just gaming. From that aspect alone, I don't think that there's truly that great of a difference between the two cards. Now, one thing that is definitely different between the two cards though, is support for your monitor. Now with AMD, you get FreeSync. FreeSync technology, like the name implies, is absolutely free. It's a software solution that's by AMD, and it allows your monitor to work in sync with your video card to eliminate screen tearing and all these other type of things that in-game that make the gaming experience just not very nice. Helps get rid of eye fatigue and all that other stuff. Now, Nvidia's solution is called G-Sync, but it always does cost a few $100s more, and people, get really kind of crazy about this. But the reason for this is that is a hardware solution. Inside your monitor is actually a chip that's actually helping run your monitor. So unlike being a software solution, it is a hardware solution. When you're paying that money to get that hardware solution. And depending on how hardcore of a gamer you are, this may be a very, very, very important feature and maybe the one that helps you make your decision. I mean, if you want the absolute best gaming experience, no tearing, no nothing, you want to just play great, your best bet's going to be with an Nvidia card with a G-Sync monitor. However, this is also a more costly investment. Like I said, the monitors alone, when you're getting G-Sync, are usually a few $100s more than a FreeSync monitor because you're going to pay for that technology. But I have to say that the difference between FreeSync and G-Sync is pretty noticeable. FreeSync works pretty well, but G-Sync just works better all the time. Now, if you're a person who does more than just gaming, you're a streamer, you're an editor, you do all kinds of different things, there are some differences between an AMD card and an Nvidia card. Now, anything with direct CU is going to work better with the AMD card. And AMD cards are really good for streaming and that type of stuff. But if you're rendering videos, you're rendering Photoshop stuff, you're doing stuff like that, it's really tough to beat an Nvidia card. It just really is. Those cards work really well. Nvidia has the CUDA cards. Now we know that they have Fire GLs in the AMD side of things. That's not for the gaming market whatsoever. That's for the workstation type market. But still, if you are mainly a gamer and you do other stuff, with your card, depending on what you're doing, there could be a big difference for you. If you go to your computer and you see that most of the stuff that you're doing uses direct CU, then you might not want to get an Nvidia card for what you're particularly doing. Now, the biggest issue between the cards always, though, is frames per second, right? At the end of the day, when you're playing your games, you're doing everything, the thing that you always look at are the frames per second. You're like, hey man, this game's getting 60 frames per second, this game's getting this many frames per second, and here's where things right now get a little bit weird. So let's go right now to the top of the line. A 1080 Ti card, for some reason, has not gone down in price whatsoever. They're still selling for $900. Why this is going on and why that price hasn't dropped, I don't know. Now, if we're going to compare it directly over to the Vegas 64, the Vega 64 is $589. And performance-wise, there's a giant leap, though, between the 1080 Ti and the Vega 64. The performance differences is just, it's really quite a lot. So if you're out looking for a video card right now, I honestly could not really recommend at this point either one of those cards. But check this out. You can get a 1080 card for about $515. They range right around in there right now. And the 1080 will beat the Vega 64. It will do it over and over and over again. Now, the Vega 56, even though it's a good card and used to really be like a really nice price spot, at this point, that card is, almost the same price. It's only a few dollars less than a 64. So, I mean, if you are going to get an AMD card and you want the best, I would recommend paying the difference and getting the 64 because the performance differences between those two cards is quite a lot. So a 1070 card, though, is also around that same price range. And if your budget's right in there, that particular card actually gets better frame rates in most cases than either the 56 or the 64. So things get really, really kind of weird right there. At the very top end of things, you see the Nvidia card priced way higher than the AMD card. But the AMD card also has a lot less performance. And if you drop down a tier and just go to the 1080, which has also dropped in price a little bit, you get a much better deal. That's just the way things are. Now, it's really kind of strange that AMD hasn't released a new video card in quite a while. I was really expecting them by now to release a new video card, but now that we hear all these rumors that it's possible that the 11 series that's coming out is going to be a rebrand, that honestly will give AMD, if that comes out to be true, a time to catch their breath and release new cards. But where these new cards are right now, I really don't know. So if you're a person out there right now and you're getting ready to make a video card purchase and you're like, hey, I really, really want a good deal, honestly, the best deal that I can suggest right now across the board is, even though it's older technology, is an RX 580. I built a computer for a friend of mine with an RX 580. He plays all his games. He does VR. He's totally happy with it. That card is $300. Now, it competes almost with the 1070. It's a little bit slower in some cases, but you're also talking about a $200 to $250 price difference between the two cards. So honestly, at this point right now, the RX 580 is a really great deal. We'll also have some links down below to a few different cards if you guys want to check them out for yourself. But currently, in my opinion, that's the best deal that you can get, because that card's $300. Like I said, it plays all the games. It does great stuff. Even though it's not a Vega 56 or a Vega 64, it's not the latest, greatest card, these cards are still very competitive. And at $300, I think they're quite affordable. Now, a lot of people have tried to say before that these cards hit the market and they were like $199. I personally have never seen the cards for $199. Some guy sent me a link sometime to it, but I looked at it, it was just kind of like, if the car was $199, honestly, I would say it's like the best deal that there is on the net right now. But at $300, it's still a really good deal. So here's the breakup. If you're a gamer, and that's all you do, you play games every day on your computer, not a weekend warrior, you just don't come and play a game Friday through Sunday when you have some time. You really are dedicated to your gaming. You're looking for a card that's going to produce lots of frames per second. It's going to run nice and cool in your computer, and it's not going to cost you an arm and a leg. Now, like I said, the 1070 is a really good card. It's a really nice card, but it's also still kind of pricey. We're seeing the 1080 and the 1070, and the price difference between those two cards really isn't that much. And if you look at a 1070 Ti, this card's prices actually shoot up higher than a 1080. So that's kind of crazy. You see a 1070 Ti, which actually now will beat pretty much a 1080, it costs more money. So as far as the prices go right now between the two companies, getting yourself a GTX 1080 or an RX 580, honestly, to me, is where the sweet spot is, excuse me. And like I said, if you're a gamer, you're in game, you're playing the game, you're not really going to be going, oh my God, I can tell in this particular spot this is an AMD card, or no, this particular spot it's an Nvidia card. That's not happening. So the gamer experience between either companies, between AMD and Nvidia, as long as you have the proper drivers and your card is running fine, your gaming experience, other than the frames per second, is going to be pretty much the same. And I hope I'm getting my point across very clear with this, because exactly what I mean is I set two computers up side by side. I keep the cards within the tolerance range of the scores, and you put two people to play the games, you blindfold them, you put them in the front of the computer and you let them play. No person's going to be able to come up, I don't think, and go, hey man, this is an Nvidia card and this is an AMD card. And that's the gamer experience. And I think that most of you guys out there are gamers and are looking for the gamer's experience. And like I said before also, the big difference between the two is the G-Sync and the FreeSync. If you want the absolute best of the best, you want a hardware solution that you know is never going to fail on you, then definitely you want to be looking at Nvidia and you want to be getting yourself a G-Sync monitor. Even though it's a little bit more costly and might cost you some money, still, if you want the absolute best, that's what you want to get in. Now, if you're on a budget, like I said, the RX 580 right now, really, really hard to beat. And beyond the gaming experience, yeah, there are a few things that are really more technically, different between the Nvidia cards and the AMD cards. But if you're really a gamer and you're doing other stuff, it's possible that you might even want to have two different computers. I know that a lot of my friends who do a lot of editing and stuff, they have quadro, cards inside of their computers that they're doing all their rendering and stuff. And then they have AMD cards inside of their gaming systems and they're completely happy. So it really just depends on where you're coming from. I honestly hope that we see a new card from AMD very, very soon, because you guys all know it. The Vega 56 and the Vega 64, even though they came out and they were kind of cool, they still were not even what we were looking for or what we were expecting. And if the rumor about the new 11 series from Nvidia turns out to be true, and it is just a rebrand, that's honestly giving AMD a serious benefit in time to just go, take a deep breath and get their act together and get their cards out. Now, you guys may not realize this. Some people always say, oh, you're a fan of this, you're a fan of that. And that's just not true. I'm a fan of all technology. I want AMD to put better products on the market. Always. And why is this? Because the better the product on the market from another company forces the other company to improve their game. You guys really don't realize this, but AMD not releasing new video cards and being a long time between the releases, just like Nvidia, really kind of kills the market. And that's why it's been so long since we've seen Nvidia even release a new video card, because there's really no demand right now. Nvidia's got the market as far as the frames per seconds go. They've got that hands down. Sure, there are some good deals on the AMD side of things, but at the end of the day, people are really going to want performance. It's either performance or budget. And that's really how it comes down to. And if you notice that most of the guys who do game with AMD are really looking for a budget and a great deal. But in the current, scheme of things, you buy yourself a Vega 64 and you pay $600 for it, you'd probably be kicking yourself in the butt a week later when you see that the cards on the Nvidia side are lower priced and you're still getting better performance from an Nvidia card. I have no loyalty to brands. I have no loyalty to companies. What I have loyalty is to the numbers and the performance. And we bring you guys the reviews. We show you the numbers and the raw performance. We show you guys those really low lows and all that other stuff. But you guys can see that pretty much at this point in time, most of the Nvidia cards are honestly better priced than the AMD side of things. RX 580, like I said multiple times in this video, great deal. But the other cards, not so much of a great deal. So if you're somebody out there right now and you're on the fence, you're like, oh man, I want to buy a video card, but I don't really know what to buy. I mean, if you're strictly an AMD fan and you let all the things like weird business practices or other weird stuff that has nothing to do with the video card itself, influence your buy, that's on you. Me personally, I don't get involved with politics. Unless Intel comes and kills my family or Nvidia comes and does something crazy to me, when I go to buy a product, I go by the product and its merits. I mean, it's not like, I see, Nvidia out beating seals with a hammer or AMD out polluting the ocean with oil. They're not doing any of that kind of stuff. And I've said this many times before in videos that these are all corporations. And they don't have soldiers, they have lawyers. And all these guys in the business side of things really care about is getting your business. And another thing that you guys might not realize is that Nvidia dominates about 80% of the market, and that's being fair. The small amount of AMD marketing for the video card section is actually really small comparative wise. So sometimes I do admit when I hear like crazy stuff like that goes on with these business practices, I even wonder why Nvidia would honestly waste their time. And in the back of my mind, I sometimes think that Nvidia does stuff, they don't realize that what they're doing might end up biting them in the ass, and they'll pull it back just like we saw with the GeForce Experience, all that stuff that was going on before, with having companies can only buy certain name cards. Like, I don't even know why Nvidia would even get involved in that kind of stuff, because they're already winning the battle. But for you, the consumer, really the only thing that should matter to you is what you're going to get for your money. Let me know if you guys disagree with me, but as a consumer, I'm usually looking for the company that gives me the best bang for my buck. Now, like I said, if I knew Nvidia was out abusing children or beating seals or doing something really bad to the environment or to the world, then I might say, oh, hey, you know what? I don't want to buy from these guys because ethically, they really suck turd. You know what I mean? But neither one of these companies ever does that. In fact, AMD really doesn't do too much shady stuff out in the big business world. There's probably a reason for this. They don't want to get caught in anything, getting lawsuits and getting screwed. So it's a smart move from them. Nvidia's got a little bit more money so they can play that game. But for you who are just buying the cards, why at the end of the day would you really care what these guys are doing on the corporate level? I mean, really, it's like complaining about the president playing golf that day. It's not going to do you any good. I mean, he's out playing golf. And when you're going to go spend your money on a video card, who cares about those things? You want price versus performance. If you disagree, leave me a comment down below. Like I said, I'll have some links down there to some of these video cards and the prices. But at the end of this video, I just want to reiterate one more time. To me, the RX 580 right now is pretty much the best gaming card deal you can get. $300. If I was going to right now suggest building a system for one of my friends or family, I would be pushing them towards that card. It plays games great, it does VR, and overall right now, I feel that is the best bang for the buck. And the next one up other than that, if you want a lot of performance and don't want to break the bank, well then hey, that's a GTX 1080. I'm Eric, hope this explains a few things. Love seeing you guys on the channel. If you guys would share this video and give it a like, I greatly appreciate that. And we'll see you guys back on here for more tech. And hey, if you're not subscribed, you know what to do.